This is our third and final panel, and we're talking about perhaps the most important aspect of this entire movement, and that is media, transformational media. We have heard the message. How do we get it out effectively to the rest of the world to avert this global catastrophe that we are in the midst of? So we are excited to have three amazing gentlemen with us. Dr. Gabriel Cousins, founder of the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center. People have gone there to turn their lives around and to turn around their health with a raw vegan diet. John Ross, legendary film producer and founder of Visioneering Group and Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment. Thank you so much for being here. And Scott Badenoch, who is CEO of Creative Citizen, a leading environmental and social networking website. So these are three individuals who are really changing the world, and in many different ways. We've said the same message over and over and over again. You don't have to be a genius to realize that meat production is destroying the world, destroying our own health, and it's just horribly cruel. Why is it that intelligent people cannot get this message? And that's what we want to talk to these gentlemen about. Dr. Cousins, let's talk about what we're trying to do here and how constructive television plays a role in that.
If we could just stand for a moment and do an om just to kind of quiet the mind.
Let's do it.
So that prayer was about the merging of the heavens and the earth. And it's key to understanding what's going on. First, let's consider that not only is Supreme Master Ching divinely inspired, but we all are. I really thank everybody for coming here and being divinely inspired. The media needs to be divinely inspired. And let's put it that way. And we can say that really Supreme Master TV is divinely inspired. And we need to understand that all the media that's happening now from our point of view should be, can be, and is divinely inspired. In 1975, I had a vision from deep in meditation. It said, you should learn to eat and live in a way that supports the spiritual energy. And from that time, 10 books have been written. Notable ones are Conscious Eating, Rainbow Green Life Cuisine, and Spiritual Nutrition. We have now outlined, including all the difficulties people face, and how to be a complete, successful vegan and life fooder. These books are carried in naturopathic schools around the world. It's like, this is what you need to do. You're a holistic physician. You need to do that. And the reason you're doing that actually is, how do we become superconductors of the divine? And the diet that came through was a vegan life food diet. It is the best way, without a doubt, how to become a superconductor of the divine. From that place of awareness comes the deep compassion and love for all creation, for the living planet. We're no longer seeing ourselves as stewards of the living planet, which is also very good, but we are one with the living planet. There's a whole different set of discussion when we have that, a whole different set of understanding. Now, from the position of a holistic physician, a Columbia-trained medical doctor, we're going to talk a little bit and try to understand this in a deeper way. And what we need to understand is global warming, diabetes are symptoms of a way of thinking in the world we call a predatory way, in which humans, animals, plants, and the living planet are considered as an economic unit to be exploited. I call it the culture of death. Now, we got to have a solution to that. And that's to move into the consciousness of the culture of life. And this is really what Supreme Master TV is about, and really what all our lives are about in a deeper way. And there are two ways of looking at it. One level, we can say, out of our need for survival and our need and our fear of danger and global warming, we're going to come up with, how do we decrease the carbon footprint? Okay, that's very good. But we haven't gone to the deeper level, which is a holistic approach, which says, wait a second, we have to look at our whole lives and turn that around. And the culture of life is about bringing compassion, bringing love, feeling that wholeness, knowing that the animal world is, in essence, omatakiasa, which means all our relationships. We're all related. And if you look deeply in the scriptures, the animals have their souls breathed into them first, as it says in the Torah, what we know as the Old Testament. The souls of the animals came first. And we look at Buddhism, and Buddha in the Sagarma Sutra said, very simply, in the future times, there will be ghosts who will tell you that it's okay to eat meat and be liberated. And he said, this is not possible. One cannot eat the living flesh of sentient beings and be liberated. And keep that in mind. And the Dalai Lama in March of 2005 has committed to being that way, vegetarian. So this is what we're saying. So in the Christian tradition, besides the Jewish tradition that comes out of the Torah, Jesus and all the disciples, as well documented in my book, Conscious Eating, were all vegetarian. Just so we know that the foundation of Christianity, the foundation of Judaism, was that vegetarian diet. Genesis 1:29 makes it very clear. I've given you the seed of every herb-bearing seed on the planet, and the tree of a fruit-bearing tree to be yours for food. What does that mean? It's a vegan diet. It's a live food diet. And it was given to us 6,000 years ago. Or we're just a little slow on the uptake. But it's there, right in front of our face. So it is the dietary blueprint for healing the planet and healing ourselves. And we talked about diabetes. I'll just make a point that the rate of diabetes for meat eaters is 4 times higher. And at the Tree of Life, we are reversing diabetes. It's called unhealable. It is. If you keep eating meat and sugar, it certainly is. But we're reversing it on an average of 21 days, type 2 diabetes. And we got lots of documentation. We're getting more and more. So what we're saying is, change your consciousness, change your lifestyle. And so that's the question we've been dealing with all along here. And the bottom line of that, of course, is a minimum, the vegan diet. It's simply a meat-centered diet is a hoarding of resources that is not only causing economic, ecological disaster in the planet, but it literally is responsible for 40 to 60 million people dying of starvation on the diet. 15 million children a year dying. Even the World Health Organization is saying 29,500 children are dying each day of starvation. deeper peace is we all have the shadow of the culture of death within us. We all have the shadow. We've got to admit that and be at peace with that. And the work is, how do we move into the culture of life consciousness? Because it's not fighting against something. We are moving into a consciousness of the culture of life, of compassion, of love, of our oneness with the planet, that now is what the media can do. And that's exactly what we've done. We've been inspired by Supreme Master TV. We hope many other media networks are. Where we have created a virtual culture of life community. And you can access it at GabrielCousins.com and in a very short time, cultureoflifecommunity.com. And we are talking about alive people, alive relationships, alive parenting, alive planet, alive food, and literally alive building materials and ecology. We actually have been pioneering veganic organic farming. Veganic organic, well, that means we use nothing, no blood meal, no bone meal, and we have an apprenticeship in that. And we're about ready to start a master's program in ecological and live building. The thing that we have seen that's most powerful, once people get the idea that vegan is a good idea, but I'm afraid to do it, is we do these 7-day juice fasts. And we have seen tremendous transformation. In Israel, which actually has the second amount of vegetarians in the world outside of India, we do fasts with 80 people. We know that when people get that they can live without meat, they can then more comfortably make the transition to veganism. We invite you to join the whole transition into the culture of life way of being, so that we can live with love and consciousness and compassion with all of animal life, all of plant life, and all of the living planet. And understand at the deepest level, we are not stewards. We are one with the living planet. And may everyone here be blessed that all our actions are based on that shift in consciousness. The most important thing for the media is help people create a new morphogenic field that supports the shift in consciousness to a vegan culture of life consciousness. Thank you very much.
Dr. Gabriel Cousins, do you have any question for Supreme Master?
Yes, I do, actually. We understand that veganism is clearly a major lifestyle change. What other lifestyle and consciousness change would you recommend? One other one that you would recommend is most important to make that change into the culture of life?
Thank you, Dr. Cousin. You know already, veganism is just one of the aspects of our lives. The next one, together with veganism, we should also develop spiritual practice. Yes. And then because the more we dwell deep into our great self, the more knowledge we have, the more wisdom we will gain. And then nobody need even to tell us anything. We will go in the right direction in life. And then once we go into the right direction, everything else will be correct. So spiritual life is very essential. But I'm afraid that that probably is the next phase after vegetarianism. First, people have to open their heart to be compassionate to all beings, meaning forsake meat eating and returning to the noble way of life, the vegetarian diet. Then after that, the heart will be more open. And then the next, we can probably suggest more spiritual development. Even if they did not want spiritual development per se, after being vegetarian for a while, they will also become somewhat spiritually elevated. And maybe they would want to search more understanding about this subject and go deeper into enlightenment. Yeah, that's what I hope And that's what I think.
We are delighted to have with us today John Rotz, legendary film promoter and founder of Visionary Group and Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment. Tell us how you are shaping the world, John, in terms of how you're using the media to try to bring a message of peace and compassion.
Thank you. Well, first off, I want to thank everybody for being here today. And I'm very humbled to be in the presence of such amazing consciousness and presence. And this is a really exciting time because the nature of media is changing. People are the media today. And we no longer rely only on television, radio, newspapers, and such for our information, but we rely on one another, most importantly. The technical term is word-of-mouth marketing. And it's the very best, but it's also the hardest to achieve. And I think that's something that people have been alluding to today. How do we accomplish many of the ideas that we've been speaking about today? And in 1991, my company had the honor to work on a film called Mind Walk that some of you may be familiar with. And yes, it's a great film. And Mind Walk has been called an eco-spiritual version of My Dinner with Andre. And it explores a kind of systems view of the world. And when I was thinking about this presentation today, I pulled out the script because I remembered a line from the movie. And the line is, healing the universe is an inside job. And I changed it to healing the environment is an inside job. Because to me, that idea expresses a connection between our inner state or consciousness and transformation, personal responsibility and action in the outer world. And I view media as a kind of link that can connect those two and can facilitate this. So we've been involved in the marketing of a number of films like What the Bleep Do We Know and Peaceful Warrior and 11th Hour and the last Francis Ford Coppola film, Youth Without Youth, which is really quite an extraordinary piece of work. And we've noticed over the last several years that there is such great interest in transformational media. And I use the term media in the broadest and deepest sense of the word. So we've been slowly working within Hollywood to try and help Hollywood understand that there is, in fact, an audience for films and television programming in particular. When What the Bleep was first shot, every distributor in Hollywood said no. There isn't a market for this film. No one will pay $5 to see it. And our position was, well, just because you don't know the audience doesn't mean we don't exist. And they said, prove it. So we did. And after a few $1 million of box office, of course, the distributors, came knocking on the door and saying, well, we can work with you now. We ultimately did work with the distributor. And I think one of the reasons for that was because it's important to build bridges with the media, whether it's a distributor or a television company or what have you. We've got to start bringing our consciousness, our sensibilities of this into the mainstream. Many people are not aware, but the media operate according to a set of values. And one of those values is typified by the expression, if it bleeds, it leads. Negativity is one of the top media values. And as is celebrity, we live in a celebrity-oriented culture. And these are the kinds of values that the media are promoting. And we all need to work to help foster and facilitate a new set of media values. There's a lovely expression, only a new seed will yield a new crop. And if we want the media to begin expressing new ideas, new visions, new models, then we have to be the ones to bring these to them. When I started 20 years ago, knocking on the doors of the media, and I would bring up such ideas as meditation, yoga, vegetarianism, the environment, I'm quite certain that they thought I was from another planet, as many people do today. And yet, after 20 years, we just keep knocking on the door. And little bit by little bit, the media are changing. This has brought about a realization that we need an organization, which we've started, called GATE, which stands for the Global Alliance for Transformational Entertainment. And the idea behind this organization is to bring together those conscious people within the entertainment business, on the creative and the business sides, people who understand consciousness, who understand transformation, and invite them to this forum to learn, to talk, to share ideas, resources, projects, money, and what have you, to help give birth more easily to these kinds of projects in the context of the mainstream entertainment business. So our plan now is to hold an inaugural meeting of GATE in the fall. And the title of the presentation is going to be Transform the World by Transforming Media and Entertainment. What we want everyone to do is to come together and begin talking about media values, the need for new media values. And I want to also mention, at one point I was speaking with Fritjof Capra, the Tao of Physics, the Turning Point, and he mentioned something in some correspondence that I think is really important. Imagine if instead of only or primarily using a rational, analytical, reductionist, linear mindset to create the news, what if we used an intuitive, holistic, nonlinear, and synthesizing mindset? There are so many projects in the world today, worldwide, and as I've traveled around opening films, and I work with Eckhart Tolle and seeing the response to the Eckhart Tolle Oprah webcast, 20 million people. As I see this happening, it's clear and evident that the level of consciousness has sufficiently risen that we want more than what Hollywood and the corporate news media have given us to this point. So things are changing. I feel very optimistic. And I'd like to, because you've all been extremely patient today, and I'm sure we could spend the next 2 weeks discussing these various issues, but I want to ask you to think about this, to listen to the media within. A vital source of wisdom is the media in each of us. Dreams, reflections, imagination, experience, revelation, reason, insight, emotion, intuitions, and inspiration. And while we may draw our data from the outside world, it is our internal processes that give it value. So in this information age, which is just a big cacophony, don't overlook the richest source of any age, and that's us. That's each of us in media. So thank you.
Supreme Master Ching Hai, would you like to weigh in on the issue of transformational media?
I think he's right. It's very good, Mr. Chandra. Very good idea. Very positive direction. It's very inspiring to hear you. Yes. It is true what he said, huh? Okay. Nowadays we have internet, we have email. So I think he's right. We could become ourselves the media that we would like it to be. So it's very good idea. Very good idea. So all of us can become journalists now. In the CNN system, they also have the iReport. And the people who watch the television, they report it themselves. So why not? That's why I said we all go out of our way, print all the information that we get about the urgency of the planet and the solution to save the planet. We do the media task. Very good, Mr. John. Mr. John, continue doing that. Thank you so much. By the way, are you a vegetarian?
Yes.
Right.
Wow, I knew it. Bravo. Why I asked, because you are so enlightened, and the way you talk is very spiritual conscious. So I thought you must have been vegetarian sometime before this. Thank you so much for walking the talk. They're beautiful people today, aren't they? You collect all the beautiful people. I'm so glad to know them. Thank you, Jane. It must be your attraction. You're like a magnet.
Thank you so much, Supreme Master. And now we have Scott Badenoch, Chief Executive Officer of Creative Citizen.
Thank you. It's obviously been an extremely informative day. It's ironic that we're here in Hollywood, the land of dramatic plot lines, where we happen to have the most dramatic plot line in the history of humankind. It's quite a fascinating time to be alive, and climate change in reality is the most critical issue in the history of our species. And we are going to either evolve or we're going to go the way of the dinosaur. Now, I'd rather this be in movies than in real life as well, but the fact of the matter is, and if you look at all the scientific data from the top to the bottom, this is not a 50 to 100 year horizon of a problem, this is 3 to 5 years. So the time to act is right now, and the time for a massive holistic change is right now. So what I like to say is that every single facet of our society will be rethought through the lens of sustainability. So this is not just about being a vegetarian or a vegan. This is about rethinking every single thing that we do in our daily lives, in our businesses, at home, at our offices, in every single facet of our lives. And if we do not do that, we will not solve this problem. Now, while we also have the biggest problem in the history of mankind, we also have the greatest tool in the history of mankind, which is the internet. So this tool, which brings together the ability to collaborate, mobilize, and disseminate, is really going to be the savior, or can be the savior, for our human species. It's in reality the greatest asset of this period of transition that we have, where working together is now easier than ever before. So the thesis statement is that we must transition our society from one that is at odds with nature to one that is in accord with it. And fortunately, if there is a method to do that, that is through grassroots methodologies, which we've all forged for decades, and now we have a mechanism to really do it. So you look at the successes that have happened in the space. For instance, Wikipedia. Wikipedia now reaches 683 million visitors annually, twice the United States. They have over 10 million articles in 253 languages, and this all took place in 7 years. This is unprecedented in the history of humankind. This is real serious stuff. It's also been proven to be more accurate than the static encyclopedias like Encarta and Encyclopedia Britannica, because it can be updated live time. So dinosaurs are going by the wayside. Now we look at things like Facebook and MySpace, and a lot of times they're scoffed at as toys or kids' things, but the ability to mobilize and unify the human species through mechanisms like those is really incredible. You look at Facebook, it has over 80 million users in the space of 4 years. 80 million people in 4 years. This is not small stuff. Then you look at MySpace, they have over 150 million users in 5 years, they have 200,000 new users every day. 200,000 new users every day. This is massive. You look at YouTube, they have over 100 million videos, giving the ability to disseminate information and ideas, whole new levels of success. So tapping into those models was the creation of creativecitizen.com. And I like to call it the wiki for green living. So what we've seen is this drastic increase in awareness amongst the public that there is a massive problem called climate change, resource depletion, whatever you want to call it. We have, as a species, outstripped the supply on this planet. So what do? Well, there's lots of things we can do. So our mission as creativecitizen.com is to provide the community at large with the tools to disseminate immediately actionable and tangible creative solutions for more environmentally friendly life. Now, creative solutions are anything from products and services to habits that cost you nothing. So what we do is we show you the tangible benefits of these things, from turning the water off while you brush your teeth to installing solar panels and everything in between. Again, every single facet of your life can be rethought with a creative solution. So what we do is then also help you track in terms of 5 categories: waste, water, energy, emissions, and money, the real savings that result from these things, so that this whole green thing is not so innocuous to people. It starts making real sense. When you find out that turning the water off while you brush your teeth, which couldn't be any simpler, it takes that, saves 3,000 gallons a year per person. That is not a small amount. You extrapolate that times 4 people in a family, you got 12,000 gallons of water. This is for real stuff. Now, if you do 20, 30, 50 things like this that cost you nothing, and you end up saving massive amounts that take multiple cars off the road, more cars than you actually use in your daily life, and end up saving you $500, $1,000, $5,000 a year from the resources you would have been wasted, now we're starting to reach demographics. So what's been missing in this market is that there hasn't been a way for people to reach digestible actions that they can do right now. That is what creativecitizen.com was created to do. Now, to get back to going vegetarian, the reality is if you are only to do one thing in your daily life to become more environmentally friendly, that is to be a vegetarian or vegan, really a vegan.
People have to open their heart to be compassionate to all beings, meaning forsake meat eating and returning to the noble way of life, the vegetarian diet.